Welcome everyone, we're back on the TBH, the To Be Honest Mastermind podcast. And today I've got someone with me, a gentleman called James. He is the man from York and he's all about AI. So James, please introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is James Lombarton. Nice to meet you.
Good to meet you, James. Tell us a little bit about your business, James.
So the business is called Pro AI. I'm the director and founder, running just over 6 years now.
Wow.
The aim of the business is to build, predominantly to build and implement AI solutions, as the name suggests. But we also focus on the early bit, which is trying to make AI tailored to business, trying to make AI simple and user centric. That's the beginning and middle of it all, really. So we were focusing in different industries. I suppose since we've been building this company, the AI world has changed quite dramatically, and like you mentioned, everyone's talking about it quite a bit. So being on that forefront is especially what we're trying to do.
And how did you end up running a business called Pro AI? What's your journey to that business?
Um, about 10 years ago, I was working in an app development company. So we've been making apps for healthcare and education. And we were, that's back when everyone wanted a mobile app. So we were mostly building mobile apps, and we were doing a bit for kind of healthcare providers, and we got a contract with the NHS to build an AI solution. And back then there wasn't any generative AI; it was mostly just machine learning. That was the focus kind of area, and it was just an emerging field, really. Even not that long ago, 10 years isn't that long ago, really. So this was a machine learning system, and we got a little team, and we got a data scientist who was fantastic, and just seeing that in action really inspired me. I saw the amazing things it could do with a very normative data set, and I instantly thought, well, this could apply to everything. And if you applied it in different ways and understood the field a bit more, the implications are massive. So even then, I understood and saw the impact of it. And then obviously since then, we've seen generative AI explode, automation explode, and everything get cast on this big umbrella of what is AI, which is fantastic. So from there, I worked as a consultant for a while, a technical consultant for a company, and did some projects for them. And that was in London when I was working there, and that was more for kind of, your big banks and big kind of firms, accountancy firms like that. So it gave me a different perspective. How is AI wanting to be used at the bigger scale? And that was really interesting. But at that time, and even still now, the costs of it were astronomical, and they still kind of are. And I think that's what kind of limits people's ability to look at this in serious detail because of how expensive this thing is, or this kind of range of solutions is. So I was moving around thinking what to do next, and just the time and place hit and thought, well, I know how to build these solutions or design them. Consulting piece is something I really like doing. What if I could just get a little team around me and I'd be the middleman in between this team, taking requirements, designing solutions, and passing them onto a dedicated team. Because with AI, like I said, there's all these kind of sub areas. If you can get specialists in there, you can be very efficient. So that's what we tried making the company around. And yeah, that's how it's all really started. It was from those kind of early, just seeing it, how it worked, really.
James, I meet many people on the podcast, and they are both embracing AI, particularly as a small business, but also some businesses feel quite threatened by it. Where's this going to go for the in the SME world?
Well, we had news stories of Amazon, sacking 30,000 people, and obviously that's very scary and has loads of implications to it. And obviously they're doing it for efficiency reasons. Um, you know, what we see in businesses is that the smaller businesses could have the potential to overtake the larger companies a lot quicker with the what I call non-employment growth. So, your traditional businesses that are well founded with, let's say, 14, 20 people in the business, and they've been well building turnover really well and growing over the last kind of X amount of years. That can be undercut very quickly, can't it, by a smaller business that adopts these technologies. So it is a bit of a gold rush at the moment, and people are scrabbling around trying to understand, well, how does this fit, and how do I get undertaken by by this wave of technology. Um, I think it's all about the approach. I think, if you want to replace loads of people, then you certainly can.
Yeah.
But my approach really is, like I mentioned, non-employment growth. You can keep your process what it is. You can keep how you're operating, but use this in this like kind of a supercharger,
Hmm.
or an empowering method to what you have. Either empowering the process or empowering people with what they're already doing. From my point of view, that doesn't undermine businesses; it just lifts the floor. I'm not saying that there won't be the case that
Hmm.
really small businesses with two or three people will be able to do huge amounts of work in the future, which could undermine businesses. But I think for businesses who are operating at scale,
Yeah.
that gives them an option. I think that's very valuable.
That's a really interesting answer. Thank you for that. Because there's a worry about it. I mean, you must hear it yourself. Just in general life, people are worried about AI and what it's going to do to us.
Yes, absolutely. I think on the website, the main word we use is bespoke, and that sounds like you're a London tailor, but really, it's all about tailoring it to what you are at the moment. I think that's the approach that I see the most value in. Like for example, when we go into manufacturing companies, and we often do that, kind of do an audit and look at what the business is operating at. Um, there's all those sector departments that are doing fantastic jobs in that business. um, it's tailoring it to those people because they're the people who'll be using it. It's not that often that you get this glorious machine in the background that does everything.
Mm.
That's a bit of a fairy tale, I think, to a certain degree. Maybe AI agents will undermine that. Agentic AI is becoming a bigger thing, but at the moment, I think tailoring it around, for example, interviewing people and really getting down to the bare levels of what it is. How would you use a system, for example? How would you want to interact with this, and actually tailor it, make it bespoke that way. Because there are a lot of AI solutions out there that are very modular, and you could just drop them into businesses,
Hmm.
but that would inherently you'd assume that would inherently give risk of replacement because it's not tailored, and it's not bespoke to what you guys are doing. So again, I think it's about approach, and it is a bit of the Wild West, and maybe we'll find out the best way of how to adopt this technology. But at the moment, everyone's just scrabbling around trying to do the best I can. I feel it's very similar to what happened with the .com kind of boom
Yeah, dot
explosion.
com apps was another, and like you say, you spoke about apps earlier. So
Completely.
I'm a small business. I feel I've got to embrace AI. What would you advise a smaller business to do with AI? How would you get them to start?
I think you need a bit of leadership and kind of guidance on it, um, because someone who's had the experience in that field can understand, through history or getting the scars of when it didn't work,
Mm.
give a good perspective in that. What people worry about is, well, I don't want to get on someone who's on crazy money just to sit in the boardroom. Is that really what you want? I
Yeah.
don't think it is. I think finding one or two individuals or an external team that you can agree some kind of arrangement to first go in and, like I said, do that upfront user experience piece,
Hmm.
which
Hmm.
is it's a proper consult, and it's a proper what are the priorities in the business. Let's not talk about AI. Let's not talk
Yeah.
about technology. Cut the proverbial BS on what this is, and got down to where's the value. What's the five things which are lacking in the business in terms of productivity, how much time you're spending, what the resources are allocated towards in the majority. If you can pick out those, then maybe consider solutions. And then maybe it might not be AI. It might just be a very simple automation system that moves data from here to here, or it might be a little front end
Hmm.
application. But don't go in thinking that AI is going to solve all the problems. You know,
That's really interesting. I get pulled into business to sort sales problems out, and the truth of it is the discovery part is
yeah,
actually is actually where I usually find out the biggest truth. And quite often it's what I call a picnic problem. The problem's in the chair, not in the company, and it's the
yes,
person,
yeah,
usually the person I'm speaking to, that's more of a, yeah, you're right. So the discovery part of AI sales leadership, it's the critical part, and it's the one that wants time spending on.
Completely, yeah. And I think that it might not be the directors know every facet of the business, but if you're really getting under the skin of the business, you will very quickly pick out what these solutions look like. You might need someone like myself to tell you how viable they are, or how long it would take to implement. But fundamentally, people get where the problems are in the businesses. You just need that little bit of insight to put those two pieces together. Because there will be a competitor out there that knows the problem and is working really hard to automate it, or grow that part of the business at scale. And that's where I guess all these kind of platforms and systems that you can purchase through SaaS subscriptions. That's why they're exploding, and will continue to explode. But like I said, you can always find through the people in the business.
On your journey through your business, who, what, how, who's inspired you? Book, a person, or learning?
Um, I suppose I've read a few books when I was starting. That kind of Peter Thiel book was kind of interesting, and I've had some kind of other perspectives like that. People that came from very simple concepts and just scaled it very well. When I see these data, I mean, the guy that I was talking about initially, who I worked with, who was the data scientist, if you see them work, they have a level of expertise which is so specified. I mean, all these universities are churning out incredible professors and doctorates in, data science and engineering. If you can see that work in action, it's really inspiring. But my dad's he's a bit of an innovator himself. I kind of get that from him, so I'm sure that's where often these kind of stories come from as well.
Brilliant. So I'm just going to give you a break from questioning now and just ask you some bit more human questions. So just answer whatever comes first to mind. I always start with an easy one. Tea or coffee?
Uh, I switch on a monthly basis. I'll either drink a load of coffee or a load of tea, and then it's like I've got two hemispheres in my brain. One's it just switches bipolarly, like, or something like that. Yeah.
What about beer or wine then?
Uh, Probably beer. I mean, when food's around, then it's definitely wine, but beer's something I do enjoy.
So summer holiday or a winter ski break?
Winter ski break. I've been on a fair share of trips to skiing. I used to do. I did a couple of seasons in Canada and New Zealand, which were fantastic. I like getting out and being active, and if you can combine that with some, the Alps, for example, it's fantastic.
Queenstown's an interesting place, isn't it?
Beautiful place, yeah, fantastic.
It is. If you having a takeaway, are we having Chinese or Indian or fish and chips?
Fish and chips. I'm a northerner. You've got to fit the fish and chips.
Absolutely. And this is the most controversial one. Pineapple on your pizza or no pineapple?
I mean, no, I've got to stick with the simples. I'll just go for maybe pepperoni and margarita. I'm a bit boring that kind of way.
Right. And if I were to ask you to describe yourself as a colour, what would it be?
Uh, Oddly enough, my favorite color is grey. Now that seems really boring, but there's lots of shades to it, I suppose. But
Shades of
yeah,
grey.
yeah.
Brilliant. Is there any questions you want to ask me?
Um, I mean, out the other perspectives you've talked with AI, does mine differ a lot? Like I said, I don't think there's that much of a industry standard at the moment. But is there other perspectives that you kind of see within AI that are interesting?
I think you're right. There isn't a standard. There's a lot of misunderstanding about it. There's a lot of, I don't think I'll bother with it.
Mm,
That's quite alarming. That's a bit like somebody saying, "I won't bother with them calculators. I use my tables, and I won't bother with that internet thing. That'll never catch on."
yeah.
So I think there's a lot of people. I don't think they're ignoring it for any other reason other than they don't understand it. And I'm not seeing any kind of education around it really. It seems to be all self-education. You're the first company I've came across that's actually got your the name of AI within it.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so
I
yeah,
suppose.
Yeah.
I agree. I suppose, when you're successful at doing something, it's been very difficult to get to that position, and I completely understand that. And changing that kind of that perspective is difficult, isn't it?
Mm.
Especially when it's something so mysterious and unknown, such as AI, to go down to change direction like that is a scary kind of concept. And there's been lots of things over time which people have been pressured into doing. Like SEO was a big thing, like we said about the
Mm.
mobile apps.
Mm.
There's all these options which people have had, been pressured through marketing campaigns and spam emails saying you should be doing this, you should be doing this.
Mm.
But this is a bit different, and from everything I see and what we've been seeing in business, especially when it works, the return on investment you get compared to anything I've ever seen is dramatic, because it doesn't make mistakes and it does work all the time, and it is massively scalable because you don't need massive overheads to run it. It's just unfortunate about doing it the right way. I think that's all it is.
I think my own opinion on AI is it's HI and AI, human
Yeah,
intelligence and artificial intelligence. If you get those two right, and I was speaking with someone earlier this week, they said treat it like an employee, onboard it properly, use it, play to its skills.
completely. Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
if you bring AI into your world like that, then it will serve you well.
Completely. Yes, completely.
It's like I'm old enough to remember when people say, "Well, if you put rubbish in your computer, you get rubbish out," and of course they were right. It's
Completely.
just none of
Yeah,
us knew what we were putting into a computer when I were lads. So no,
absolutely.
I think it's as transformative as the internet has been. I think
Completely.
that's my opinion.
I think one of the most transformative things which we'll start to see over the next kind of few years is its ability to code. Like I said, like universities and education has pumped so much money into training the next generation of computer software
Hmm.
engineers. Um, we're prototyping and even building systems purely on the front end part, purely using AI, and they're calling it vibe coding, whatever it turns into.
Hmm.
This is worse right now. It's the worst it's ever going to be, and let's say it gets so good it can build huge ERP systems
Hmm.
in a couple of days instead of 12 months.
Hmm.
That's a huge seismic shift. That forget what the actual AI brain is doing behind the scenes. The implications are colossal. All apart from the super senior guys in tech development are completely redundant. Business owners will be able to just scale and build services and microservices,
Hmm.
like using ChatGPT.
Hmm.
So the implications of that, I think, are massive, and I think we're certainly investing a lot of time and giving our clients a lot of kind of information and access to these kind of systems. Because, like I said, when I first started the business, to build out, some like a management platform, it would take at least 6 months.
At
You
least.
have to go through all the building of the back end
Mm.
systems, all link it together. Making sure we're going through the bugs, making sure that it was unbuggy. Even big platforms we use every day have bugs in them.
Hmm.
But imagine a system where it could get built in less than a week and it was flawless from the beginning.
Hmm.
That's a seismic shift that I think will impact a lot of businesses.
Absolutely. I'm seeing digital agencies feel threatened. I speak to
Yes,
those, and as you say, people that make CRM systems, ERP systems. I'm seeing them feel a little bit. Where's my future like?
yeah,
Yeah.
completely. Yes, completely.
Where do you
Um,
see the advantage? Where do you see your business? What's going to happen with your business in the next 3 to 5 years? Where's the opportunities for you?
um, and I think the education piece is always a big one. I think I do like, talking to people about this and understanding how it fits in the real world. Um, we have run workshops in part, and we're trying to get involved with some more at the moment. Um, if you give people the right information about this in a way they understand, you can bridge that gap and actually get a connection with people in that kind of way.
Hmm.
So I see that being a bigger part. But I mean, and leaning on the kind of piece I just talked about, which was the building code automatically. that and a couple other pieces I see as just standalone offerings, which either now or in the near future, it's a lot easier to communicate. I think that's been the problem over the last 6 years, really, communicating really clearly exactly what this can do for you. So I'd like to do more workshops where you can get down and sit down with people about this kind of stuff, but also having these very, very sophisticated, powerful modular systems that you could customize for your own business. I think that's going to be a bigger part of what we offer moving
Because
forward.
what I have seen, and this is it's good and bad in all, but what I have seen is I've seen a lot of, let's call them chat GBT wrapper companies,
Yeah, completely. Yeah, yeah,
and they're worth millions of pounds, but
absolutely,
actually somebody's done a really good job on sticking a wrap around chat GPT, and
completely.
that
I,
worries me
I,
because so many people are going to get burnt with that, and it's also going to spoil the reputation of AI. I think potentially.
absolutely. And it's all a problem of what you call this thing. So you can add this AI label onto anything. You can also add the label of agentic AI onto anything,
Hmm.
which is I see that all the time. So I was at a conference in Bradford last week, and some guy was talking me through this platform he built 2 years ago, which was he said we've got this agentic platform, and you can reskin it however you want. You can put your branding on it, but you get access to this agentic system. And like you said, all it did was query ChatGPT 5.
Yeah.
That's all it did.
Hmm.
And and I saw the pricing for it. It was astronomical, and they're obviously being successful, and well done to them.
Mm.
But it's so much more. It's so much more
What does
than.
agentic mean in your world? What does?
So we can place agentic systems in the middle of any situation, be it a text conversation or an email thread, or even in a process automatically running in the background.
Hmm.
But the two main differentials is its brain will be still a large language model or a variant of a large language model. So that's
Hmm.
how it understands and thinks.
Hmm.
But it's got sophisticated memory, firstly,
Okay.
which is vectorized, a bit complicated term, but that's essentially a really quick way of it digging into information really quick that's
Hmm.
customized. So it
Yeah.
could have every piece of information in your business. It could have every data store about your customers. It could have a really well-rounded view of how the business operates. So it's got a brain. It knows how
Hmm.
to work that, but also off the back of it, it's got these tools, and these tools give it abilities, and increasingly so, these capabilities are growing and growing and growing all the time. So it could link into DHL and book parcel delivery. It could link into your email systems and automate emails. It could send messages. It can do everything with the business with these tools.
Hmm.
So that's where this term agentic is coming from. It's an agent in the business, which isn't just taking text and generating more text. It's doing things automatically. And even we've seen OpenAI generating their version of it, which you can see on the screen as it clicks around, and it can book your
Hmm.
flights and train tickets.
Hmm.
But in practice, if you put it in a business setting, exactly what you said,
Yeah.
it would be like
But,
having an operative sat in the business working 24/7, 365.
have you met a prompt engineer?
I have. I
Have
have met
you?
a prompt engineer. Yes, I have. I've met a few actually. I met two. They're always lurking around exhibitions somewhere because
Hmm.
you can get a group of 20 people and blow them all away with the best way to do prompts. Which
Hmm.
again, that's a learning curve for everybody, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. It's. I've not met one yet. I'm looking forward to finding one.
Well, I give you a couple of the main one they always talk about is you want to give it the setting. So
Hmm.
the first line you always want to start with, this is what the prompt engineer always say. Imagine you are
Yeah.
telling this yeah. So if you're doing something on accounts, imagine you're an expert accountant with 25 years expertise. Imagine you're a data scientist. Imagine and then it apparently raises the floor of the prompts. Um, maybe in the future they'll be less valuable.
Hmm.
Like I said, with agentic systems, you give it system prompts, which is vast amounts of logic, so it doesn't necessarily need that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
Um, but people are using uh, ChatGPT every single day, all day, every day. So it might as well get better at it.
Mm. Yeah. Absolutely right. It's been a really good conversation. Thank you.
Thank
Um,
you very much.
yeah, I look forward to following your journey. I always invite my guests back, so at some point it'd be great to have you back and continue that conversation.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I think it's been a great conversation. Thank
Brilliant.
you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, James.